Larry, welcome to Cruise Control. It's great to have you on, and it's great to talk a little bit about the Alfa Romeo brand.
No, thanks for inviting me, Fred, and looking forward to talking about it.
Before we get started, we should talk about the fact that Alfa is 100 years old, and there's not many automotive brands that can make that claim. And it's had a very interesting history.
Yeah, we have, actually we celebrated our 111th birthday last year. And some of our brands, some of our models, for example, Julia just hit its 60th birthday as a brand from a car point of view. So it is a very storied brand, Fred. Going back all the way to Enrico Ferrari racing for us in the 1920s, a very consistent DNA over those 111 years. And there are not only very few brands that have been around that long, certainly very few brands that have been around that long and been consistent in how they think about the world of beautiful design and great vehicle performance.
Well, you kind of have some very definitive feelings on the Alfa Romeo brand, like who the customer is. I mean, maybe before we jump into Tonale, let's hear a little bit about how you envision the brand.
Yeah, it's a great question, Fred. And if you look at our brand, so we're a bit of you might say, a smaller challenger brand, in the marketplace. And we are really for a brand that for people who want to do something different, be something different from the other offerings that are in the market today. When you look at the reasons why people buy Alfa Romeo, the number one and number two reasons are all about performance and the vehicle design. So it's a very consistent kind of customer. It's about emotion. It's about this Italian design and the kind of emotion that it invokes in you when you're actually driving and seeing those vehicles. And what's interesting, a lot of people don't realize this, but we actually have, of all the premium brands, the youngest demographic. So our average age is around 44 years old, very affluent. So we're on the Gen X, high end of the millennial side, and we're attracting this kind of new generation of people who really want that kind of standout opportunities.
So that's pretty much a coveted thing to have in the automotive industry, that you have a very, very young demographic. I mean, brands have spent a lot of money to get that, and you're lucky to have that right away.
We absolutely are. The younger demographic does a couple of things for us. What you're seeing right now is a rapid increase in the millennial influence in premium purchases. So millennials, as such a large demographic compared to Gen X's and compared to baby boomers, these are the future, at least for the next 20 years or 30 years. These are the future of premium car buyers. So to already be tapping into that demographic and psychographic is really important for us. And unlike a lot of other brands, which are trying to change their image from selling to 60, 70, late boomers, early boomers, they have to really change the perception with the younger demographic on what their brand stands for. We don't have to do that. What we have to do, Fred, is we actually have to expand the awareness for our brand. That's probably one of our biggest weaknesses today, is people who know us really know us, but there's a lot of people who don't yet know us, but will.
That leads us into your new product, the Tonale. And of course, it's a compact CUV. That's got to be the biggest segment, growing segment of the automotive industry. You have to play in that space for sure.
To be a successful brand in the North American market, you have to play in all the key, what we refer to as profit pool segments. You got to be C, D, E. And Tonale, a lot of people, might say, where did Tonale come from? Tonale is the name of a mountain pass. And it really, harkens back to who we are as a brand from a DNA point of view. So Tonale for us is a really, really important launch. Not only the first all new launch for us in about 5 years, but it's also in a segment, as you mentioned, Fred, rapidly growing, very important from a volume point of view in North American market. And it's going to be really nice to bring what we refer to as metamorphosis or metamorphosity into this segment. We believe Tonale brings this kind of alphaness to a segment that's in need of kind of that infusion.
Yeah, when you look at Tonale, it's a premium product. I mean, a lot of the compact CUVs are kind of basic. They're getting a few, higher end features, of course, but Tonale's starting out as a kind of a high end, well equipped vehicle. I mean, you look at it right away; they're all wheel drive, at least in the U.S. I don't know whether it's like that around the world. So it starts out as a premium product. It's not a kind of entry level product that maybe there's a nice version. They're all nice versions.
Yeah, the way we think about our product plan in general, Fred, is we don't believe that you just need to have this multitude of offerings with high complexity, because when you talk to consumers, they know what they want. Most of them know what they want. So when we think about how we want to position Tonale, you're right. We're all-wheel drive. That's the only thing we're going to be offering in North America. We do have two-wheel drive in some other markets of the world, but in the US and Canada and Mexico, it's all-wheel drive only. We offer two powertrains only. We offer the 256 horsepower, 2-liter turbo GME engine, and then we're offering our first electrified Alfa Romeo on the high end of Tonale. So it's not just a plug-in hybrid offer in the brand. It's actually our 272 horsepower, highest performing Tonale is actually our electrified version. So for us, it's about kind of a compact number of combinations, but having that right level of content, including all of the level 2 kind of ADAS technologies. We want to make sure all the passive safety is there on 100% of our cars. That's what premium customers expect, and that's what we're going to put in. So you differentiate on the performance, you differentiate on things, some of the aesthetic things, wheel size, and some of the other things like that.
Yeah, let's talk about the powertrains because they're certainly interesting. I'm a big fan of plug-in hybrids right now as we transfer over eventually to all battery electrics. That's something that your brand's going to do by 2027. But right now, I think it's a great way for people to get their dip their toe into electrification. And let's look at that. It's a 1.3 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. 15.5 kilowatt hour lithium battery, 90 kilowatt electric motor, electric range of 30 miles. One of the great things about this is it's an all-wheel drive vehicle, and electrification really makes sense for all-wheel drive because the rear wheels are driven completely electrically. No drivetrain, no drive shaft, no differential. Means that's a lot lighter weight as well.
Correct. And as an Alpha, one of the first things you're going to see we're talking about is the weight balance front to rear. So even as a plug-in hybrid, we are about 52-48. So we're almost a 50-50 balance, which is exactly where you want it to be. And as to your point, Fred, with the rear 90 kilowatt motor in the back, we directly drive the rear vehicles. And this is another great thing about Alphaness, if you want to call it that. So if you're in the eco mode, we have a very special thing in Alpha called our DNA selector. So you can go from eco to normal to performance. And with the plug-in hybrid, it's kind of unique because when you're in eco mode, you can get 30 plus miles of pure electric range. If you're in normal mode, you're going to have that normal automatic balance between the electrification and the actual internal combustion engine performance driving some of the vehicle. And then when you're in the dynamic mode, not only does it change shifting and changes steering and everything else, it also allows you to deliver that power in a more direct way to those rear wheels to get that torque moving off the line faster. So you get to choose as a driver whether you want to focus more on electrification and the fuel economy or the autonomy, or you want to really drive and have the performance.
And let's face it, 30 miles of electric range will handle most people's needs around town, probably for almost pretty much a week, I would imagine, right?
Absolutely will. And to us, part of that metamorphosis for us is, as you mentioned, us moving towards a full electric brand, a pure battery electric brand starting in 2025. But this is our first electrified vehicle. And if you look historically, other than a few vehicles like Prius, a lot of offers today were always an alternative powertrain to an existing vehicle. And that's not the way we think of it as Alfa Romeo. It's Alfa Romeo first, and then the powertrain happens to be mated to the vehicle the right way to deliver a certain level of Veloce or TI or Sprint or Quadrifoglio. So for us, electrification is a movement that's not just about electrification. It's still about being Alpha first.
And of course, instant torque fits in with being Alpha and off the line feel, and that there's no negative there whatsoever. And it is interesting. Very rarely is the larger engine the standard engine and the smaller engine the upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely. And we think about it, with the way the vehicle's going to deliver power. We spend a lot of time and energy during the development of our vehicles on the dynamic performance. Now, as you look through the spec list, you also see some of the dynamic dampening and some of the other characteristics that we offer on the higher trim grades. So you have other dynamic performance elements that allows you to have a different drive characteristic. But the great news, Fred, is even if you're in the base Tonale, to your point, the way we content it and the way we spec it, you're going to have a great, dynamic, fun Alfa Romeo. If you want a little bit more performance, you move up to the plug-in hybrid.
Yeah, and we should say the base, which is really not any base alphas, but the standard engine is 256 horsepower, which is not bad at all. And then, of course, you come into the driving modes. You have dual power, dynamic, natural, and advanced efficiency.
Yep, exactly. And that advanced efficiency is one where I said that's where you can kind of focus on that 30 plus miles of autonomy. The car behaves that right way. It's, like right now I happen to be sitting in Southern California, and on a day-to-day driving, you can't really benefit from what the Alpha and dynamic mode can give you necessarily on these streets. The eco mode would be great, the advanced, economy mode. So, and when natural and then dynamic mode. So we want to have selectability. We want to have a brand that people can choose, and we want the vehicle to give you the best characteristics based on what you want to do with the vehicle at any given time.
Then onto the inside, Uconnect. It is Uconnect 5, the first Alpha to have that, right?
Correct. So what we basically did is that the core or the foundation of our audio HMI system is the Uconnect 5, what I'll call the core. And what we've layered on top of that is alphaness. So the way we wanted to execute the appearance, the way we wanted to execute the connection between the radio and the cluster, has this layer of alphaness on top of it. So when you see, and you saw the images, when you look at the TFT screen for the meters, it harkens back to more analog days. Even though it's a full TFT, it communicates to the audio system, but it gives us this kind of, it's not ubiquitous. It's very Alpha unique.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just brought right over it. You put some uniqueness to it as well. Also, we should mention too, that brings in things like wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which I think is a great idea, because I think a lot of people forget nowadays that the older systems, you need to plug them in and then they wonder why it's not working. So,
wireless is a great system because you can keep your vehicle charged all the time on the conductive charging while you're still communicating with the vehicle.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, one thing here, by the way, we are talking with Larry Dominique, who's the head of Alfa Romeo North America, and we're focusing on the new Tonale, the compact crossover that is really an exciting vehicle. Very, it's not a bland vehicle at all. It's got a lot of alpha in it, as it should, because it is an alpha. I have to say, by the way, before we get into some more of the features, I love the wheels. What are those wheels known as? I call them the phone dial wheels, but they are just so unique. They're aggressive but stylish, and really set the vehicle off.
Yeah, those wheels are very historic from our standpoint, and phone dial is a very common terminology used for those wheels. But if you go back and during the reveal of Tonale a couple weeks ago, we actually showed the history of that wheel design over the decades, and it's evolved, but it has this degree of consistency going back 30 years. So we believe it's a very signature element for Alfa Romeos, and you're going to see it on not just Tonale, but all the products in general.
Yeah. And we should also add, safety is very important. You've got a full suite of driver assistance systems. And are they standard across the board?
Correct. So we have a level 2 kind of ADAS standard on everything on Tonale. Starting in the 22 model year with Stelvio and Giulia, we made most of our passive safety systems that are available standard on the vehicles. We felt it was just indicative of premium customers to expect that level of technology from a safety point of view. So Tonale will launch with that same level of safety. And then we have upgradable technologies as well, moving more towards L3.
Now, I have to ask you about this, and I'm not too familiar with non-fungible tokens, but apparently the Alfa Romeo Tonale is the first car to have that. I think you might have to explain that a little, Larry, what it is and why it's good.
Yeah, actually, Fred, it's going to require a lot more explanation over the next coming months, because we're launching it in Europe first, and there's still some open issues related to getting the right partners with the NFTs. But basically, fundamentally, it's a way to track through a non-fungible token, the not only the performance of the car, but the tracking of the maintenance, the work that's been done on the car, the warranty work that's been done on the car. And the goal is to help, at least initially with an NFT, to focus on maintaining residual value. Okay. So basically at the end of 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, if you go to sell the car, the NFT can transfer all the information on the car itself, and it's just about the car, that there's been this maintenance done and that this warranty work was done. So its ability to have kind of a rolling report, a digital report of what's been maintained on the car. Has it ever been in an accident? Has it not been in an accident? And the goal is to help it retain the residual value, so we can track that over time. Because in the premium segment, not only for the owners, if you didn't buy it, if you did buy it but didn't lease it and you want to transfer it to another customer, you could show them this NFT report and be able to show them everything that's been done in the car. Trying to get paper histories of cars from maintenance is difficult at best. From a leasing point of view, our goal is to work with companies like Automotive Lease Guide or ALG and be able to use this data to show why our cars should have a higher residual value. So we're still working on a lot of the details, how the customer opts into it, what kind of service provider we would work with in the North American market. So we're going to be talking a lot more about it over the next 6 months until we get up to Tonale's launch.
Certainly an interesting concept. I mean, it is like a verified history of the car, certified. So I think that explains it well. I wasn't quite sure. You talk about non-fungible token. I think we're all still getting used to that. But I think you've clarified it, Larry, that it is a kind of a certified history of the vehicle that is available, and it's not a bunch of paperwork shoved in the glove box, which may be interesting to some of us, but most people would probably just throw it away.
Absolutely. And customers are getting more used to, the digital world around us, right? So having more things related to your car on a digital environment, I think will be very commonplace as we go in the future, but we get to be the first brand and first model in the world to be able to do this.
Here's the difficult question. When do you think we will see the Alfa Romeo Tonale in showrooms? I mean, it's obviously a difficult time for every manufacturer of everything, but especially from cars, still recovering from chip shortages and supply chain. What's the plan for seeing this in U.S. showrooms?
Yeah, so the current plan is to launch it in Q4 of this year in Italy, in our Pomigliano plant. We hope to see the GME or the 2-liter turbo version on sale early January. And then we're going to launch the plug-in hybrid early January, which should see sales end of February, early March. So we're really excited, and we're going to be talking a lot more about it as we go through the year for sure, Fred.
Larry, you have to say the name of the plant again, because I'll let you say it so I don't mess it up.
Pomigliano.
Yeah. Where is that in Italy?
Southern Italy.
Southern Italy. And they will all be built there?
Correct.
Wow. Okay, great. Well, if people want more information on the Alfa Tonale, kind of maybe raise their hand about it and get in line for one, where would they go?
Yeah, come to our website, Alfa Romeo USA, and you can sign up as a hand raiser. We'll keep you on the email list. We'll send you updates as we get closer to production. And we've had tremendous response already. So I'm very excited about the initial excitement around the vehicle.
All right, Larry Dominique, head of Alfa Romeo North America. We appreciate you being on and talking about the Alfa Romeo. Look forward to driving the Tonale when it comes out.
Great. Thanks, Fred. No, appreciate you asking us to come on board and talk about it.